Hello and welcome to the Property Damage podcast series on domestic properties. I'm Matthew Lowry, a solicitor here at BLM, and this morning I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Ruth Beck, who's head of technical claims at LV, and we are going to be discussing modern methods of construction in respect of domestic properties. Ruth, thanks for joining me.
Hi Matthew, thanks for including me.
I would like to start just by explaining what we mean by modern methods of construction. The National House Building Council, or the NHBC as it's more commonly known, define this as embracing a range of off-site manufacturing and on-site techniques that provide alternatives to traditional house building. This can range from whole homes being constructed from factory-built modules, otherwise known as modular homes, through to the use of innovative techniques for laying concrete blockwork on site. Now, there are significant benefits to modern methods of construction, including allowing homes to become much more affordable for buyers starting out in the property ladder and enabling social housing to be built much more quickly. However, as with any developing area of construction, regard must be had to the risks which might be associated with it, especially with regards to fire performance. Some common concerns include contractors may have little to no experience of the materials, systems, and techniques used in modern methods of construction, and so will therefore have minimal knowledge of the potential fire performance qualities of these. Some methods of construction also might contain hidden combustible insulation materials or poor fire stopping materials, which is something which is usually not discovered until it's too late. And finally, there may be hidden voids between the components of such modern methods of construction through which smoke and hot gases can travel, working their way through the building in a chimney format. Now, insurers are advised to keep a close eye on the developing modern methods of construction so that they can ensure that the appropriate questions are put to potential policyholders and risk can be assessed accordingly. Ruth, thank you for joining me today. And with the above in mind, I would be grateful for your thoughts on this modern and developing area. Unfortunately, it appears that fires involving properties developed using modern methods of construction have become much more common and of increasing severity. What are the main issues, emerging trends you're seeing in the domestic space in terms of fire?
Thanks, Matthew. The emerging issues we see involving fire damage to properties built using modern methods broadly fall into kind of two key categories. Firstly, the nature of the construction, which often involves the use of timber. For example, timber frames, stud or formwork and cladding means that when a fire happens, the structure is far more susceptible to damage than that of a traditional building. So the scale of the damage that we see is greater. Secondly, that when damage does occur, that the repair can be more challenging or expensive. I would add that the issues are not restricted to fire damage. For example, where water leaks occur and trace and access works are required to, for example, concealed service pipes that feed into a sealed bathroom pod, there may be very limited access space between the frame of the steel structure, resulting in a greater amount of damage being caused to gain access to the air and repair a leak. It may also not be possible just to repair a section of a pod, creating a need for far more extensive and disruptive repair for the homeowner. There are also examples of the use of unusual finishing materials, which can be difficult or costlier to source, such as those involving modular builds where sections of the building are made off site and when the finishing materials or surfaces are already fitted when the building components are dropped in place. It may not be possible to obtain replacement materials in the event of damage, creating a challenge when a repair is needed.
Okay, and what can insurers do to mitigate these risks which they might face as a consequence of development of properties using such modern methods of construction?
Yeah, the challenge is that it may not be obvious to the homeowner how the home has been constructed and that modern methods have been used. For example, the property might be clad in brick, giving the appearance of a traditional build, when in reality the structure is made of timber. And unless insurers can understand the type of structure that they're insuring, it's very difficult to mitigate against the risk or educate homeowners. This is why insurers and the ABI have been calling upon the government to create a publicly accessible database of buildings developed using these modern methods. A database would give a mechanism for homeowners and their insurers to understand the type of materials used in the building's construction.
Okay, and have you seen such as a lack of cavities and poor fire stopping in domestic properties built using modern methods of construction? Are these features you've seen of late?
Yeah, sadly, we have encountered fire claims where cavity construction has allowed a fire to spread, causing extensive damage to the property, and certainly far more extensive than you would normally see for a fire of that nature. I have also seen other examples of where fire damage superficially didn't appear to be extensive, but the actual interior of wall cavities was found to be charred where the fire had spread to it, and far more than was initially first appeared.
What severity of fires have been seen as a result of such poor fire performance in properties built using these emerging methods of construction?
In simple terms, there are examples of complete destruction of a property following a fire, typically when it's timber and due to the method of materials used in the build. In the cases that I've just referenced, where the damage didn't appear to be particularly as catastrophic, the internal damage to all cavities did ultimately mean that an economic option was to completely rebuild the property.
Okay, and obviously with all of these changes in mind and these emerging trends, which are going to be at quite an expense to insurers and obviously a health and safety concern, the Building Safety Bill was introduced into Parliament on the 5th of July 2021. In your view, what effect might this bill have on improving safety and lowering the risk of fires in domestic properties?
Yeah, it's safe to say that the Building Safety Bill does provide a great opportunity to improve fire safety. And the bill does set out a range of improvements. For example, it includes a review of the UK's building testing regime, along with establishing a new independent regulator to guarantee construction product safety. As I mentioned earlier, we do feel the bill can go further in relation to MMCs to support the need for long-term durability and resilience and repairability of modern methods of construction. And that would include the creation of a database that I've already mentioned, so we have a record of the buildings that have been constructed using these methods. It's fair to say also that the use of modern methods of construction does represent an opportunity to create more affordable housing at a faster pace. And taking these additional steps would mean that homes built today are here for the long term and have the same lifespan and durability as those built on a traditional basis.
Thank you very much. In conclusion, I think it's clear that this is a new area with many unknowns, which, unless clarified, unless some of the measures mentioned by Ruth, could place homeowners at serious risk of life-threatening injury and could leave insurers exposed to risks in terms of policy cover, which they would have otherwise been unaware of. Ruth, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you.
It was extremely useful, and hopefully we'll be able to see much more information come to light in the months ahead along the lines that you've suggested, including perhaps a database to allow insurers and homeowners to be more aware of the modern methods of construction being used and to be better informed. We're going to be covering a range of topics in this series of podcasts, including timber frame buildings, modern facades, eco properties, and the impact on repairs. And we'd love to hear from you with your observations and comments on the content in this episode and any others you've taken the time to listen to. The email address to get in touch is propertydamage@blmlaw.com. Just leaves me to say thank you for joining me with this, and we look forward to tuning in for the next episode.